Former Dublin star Alan Brogan down here in JJ Burke's tonight at the Renault Ireland GA panel discussion. Good chat with the lads tonight. We can see it all on our Facebook page. You mentioned there, we were talking about Mayo obviously earlier. You've come up against them a few times. You've beaten them on numerous occasions, but they have a big game this weekend. How do you see that one going?
Yeah, they certainly do. Look, I suppose like any time you go into the qualifiers, you're going to face some tricky games, and particularly going down to Ennis to face Clare. Look, on paper it looks like Mayo should win it, but we know these games are never easy. But I suppose the qualifiers are just for getting over. All Mayo need to do, it doesn't matter how they win or what they do, just to get back to Croke Park into an All-Ireland quarter-final. And look, I think they'll be okay. At the weekend. They've lots to improve on coming off the back of last weekend. Obviously, everyone talking about the number of opportunities missed, but I think Mayo are more than capable of winning at the weekend. And I would expect to see them back in Croke Park in an All-Ireland quarter-final in at the start of August.
Last year Mayo played a lot of games at home, and you were one of the few Dublin players that would have had experience of going through the qualifiers and around the country. The time you went to Clones and playing some of the lesser teams in the likes of London and Leitrim one year. How much pressure is there on the so-called bigger teams when you do go and play a weaker or Division 4 side, or a side down the divisions?
Yeah, I think for us back then we kind of got underneath the radar. Once we lost, people kind of wrote us off, so we went in underneath the radar. We won a few games in the qualifier, and we did get back to an All-Ireland quarter-final in I think it was 2004, and then when Meath beat us in 2010 we got back again. But I think the Mayo team is different. I think there's always a focus on Mayo. There's always a bit of pressure on them, so I think it's important for the guys inside the camp just to try and block that out and focus on the football. As Jim Gavin always speaks about, the process and just going through the process and making sure they get through those games, because that's all that matters. I don't like the days of going down to Clare, to Ennis and hammering Clare by 15-20 points. It's unreasonable to expect that. All they need to do is go down there, win by a couple of points and on to the next one. And I think, funny enough for Mayo, the closer the games are, the more they'll probably learn along the way. And
just finally, you mentioned earlier tonight possibility of a bit of surgery to the team, maybe moving Andy Moran out and using him as an impact sub. Do you see any other changes that you would bring in, or from an outside point of view, do you think Mayo need to do much to tweak the team?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think like for us in the last number of years, the bench has been a huge thing, and I think if you have a strong bench coming in, that can make a huge difference to the team. And that's just why I think Stephen Rochford would be better starting Andy off the bench. He mightn't like it, and he's probably well capable of starting. He's good enough to be starting, but I think the lift he'd give the team coming in with 20 or 25 to go, the lift he'd give a crowd coming in, he'd spook an opposition to see a guy of that calibre coming in. I just think it would be huge. And even maybe one or two of the backs of Colin Boyle or one of these guys coming off the bench as well. I don't think he started the last day that he come off the bench, but a fellow like him coming in as well. If you have a couple of talismanic players that have been around a few years that are real crowd favourites, I think that can have a huge impact in the game. And look, it worked for us in Dublin over the last number of years, and I think you're seeing now my brother Bernard started at the bench the last couple of games, and it looks like it's going to stay that way unless something drastic happens. And again, him coming off the bench, and Michael Darmacaulay, these guys coming off the bench, has been huge for Dublin, and I don't see why it wouldn't work for Mayo as well.